Mindset Monday. Mindset. Um, yeah, today was one of those struggle days of like, all right, what do we talk about? How do we jump off and how do we kick off this week? And I was sitting here thinking, okay, like, where do we even go? And then I'm sitting here just trying to think of like, okay, what can I share to make a difference? What can I do? What can I bring? And full transparency, not in the best space at the moment. Little frustrated, dealing with some challenges physically and then, you know, momentum wise. And I was just, like didn't get my workout in because I'm traveling like right after this. I'm on the road. I'm in St. Louis, so I hated having to miss that and then not feeling like well. And then um my daughter comes downstairs and she is like, "Hey, I want to share something with you guys." And I'm like, "Cool. What you got?" And she goes, "Well, we have these writing prompts that we write and then our teacher looks at them and then grades them." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I said, "So what was the writing prompt?" And the writing prompt she shared was um what have we learned so far this year? Like, what are the biggest lessons that she's getting out of sixth grade? Now, she's got a week left and then she's in middle school. And um, as a 12-year-old girl, I've not gone through the 12-year-old girl personally. However, I have another daughter who's 15, and this is a tough season, right? There's a lot of changes and things going on and et cetera. And so she shared her writing prompt and she just read it for us. And I don't know what I was really expecting, but then what she read was really, really cool. And I'm gonna read it for you guys as well. Because I think sometimes, I know for me, I can't speak to everybody, is we're out there doing our best. And sometimes we ask ourselves, are we even making a difference? Is anyone even listening? Like, is it all for nothing? Is this just all like airy fairy mumbo jumbo or what? And then sometimes as a parent, I ask myself all the time, I was like, am I even getting through? Am I even getting through? And uh, so she wrote, um, this year has definitely been a wild ride for me. When I look back, here are three things that I learned. Number one, personal growth comes from stepping outside of my comfort zone. I found myself struggling many times this year with even just getting up to ask a question. But when I chose to get up and advocate for my learning, I realized that it's a way better choice than the 100% no I would have gotten if I didn't ask at all. Number two, next, I learned that my mistakes aren't failures. I think that they're just lessons in disguise. There have been multiple occurrences of me making mistakes. I even made one yesterday. But I had to force myself to understand that mistakes are merely the stepping stones to success. Number three, kindness can go miles. For me, I have hard days. Everyone has. But learning that even the strong gesture of asking, "Hey, you doing okay?" means a lot. Being kind not only brings other people up, but it makes me feel like my world is brighter too. I can't wait to see what next year brings.
I can't imagine how proud that makes you.
They're listening. You just got to keep going, even when you don't think anyone's listening. If for nothing, for what it gets to do for you, right? But like, man, um, that's exactly what I needed. So why share that with you, right? man, there's just the days, right? There's certain days that is just they're harder than others, right? And there's the lessons, right? Um, I think, well, it's I'm like I'm not really articulate at the moment. I'm just having trouble kind of putting the words around it other than like how are you sharing? How are you sharing so that somebody else who's having a hard time can kind of lean into your ahas? How are you sharing so that your testimony of struggle or how you got through something hard helps somebody else who's in the middle of it? That can give them just a quick reminder that like, hey, you know what? It's okay to feel how I feel and X, Y, and Z, right? Um, like the mindset work isn't just internal, right? Like I think it's half of it. I think the other side of it is how are we helping perpetuate or how do we help create and give that ripple? How do we continue to pass it on? And it doesn't necessarily just get passed on in your journal privately. So, and how do you do it? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. I know I know some of the ways that I like to do it, right? But it's not like everybody's got to find their own way. Right. So how do you share? How do you help? How do you let other people in on how you handle challenge? How do you let other people in on how you've overcome struggle? How do you let other people in? Uh, yeah. Yeah, right. Sharing that things are hard. Sorry, Peggy, I'm trying to read your thing. I couldn't read it fast enough before it disappeared for me. Um, yeah, right. Like, um, there was earlier, like, even last week, there was I had somebody like kind of message me and was like, "Hey, I want your help. I was kind of I wanted to post this, but I don't want it to look a certain kind of way, and I don't want it to be like an attention thing, and I don't want to be kind of mistaken or whatever." And like, and then they also struggle as well. Like they're a coach, and they're like, I'm really struggling though. And so when I share the struggle, does that like invalidate me as the coach or the expert? Like people are looking for me for the answers, etc. Like so I know that there's a certain level of struggle even for ourselves. Like what we do can be hard, and the situations and the people that we deal with are hard. And so, like by sharing some of that, are we off? Are we seen as complaining? Are we seen as ineffective or weak or whatever it is? I know, Peggy, you're shaking your head no, and like I know what I feel whenever somebody else shares their vulnerability, et cetera. I'm like, oh wow, that was really cool. That was really brave of them, right? But then in the moment when I want to put it out there, I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I share that I bring that up today for that reason, right? It's like, how do we not compartmentalize the growth that we're experiencing, and how do we help others grow whenever it's hard? So I want to open up the conversation and kind of see what you heard, how you see it, what you're experiencing, and thoughts or takeaways from that, right? And like, man, if I had that kind of mindset when I was 12, psh, I was such a tool. I was such a tool when I was 12. She shared with me some of the guys that are 12. I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I understand where they're coming from. They're complete tools.
That seems so mature for a 12-year-old to me.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that, and that's what her teacher said as well. He's like, he's like, I'm actually surprised to read this. Is like, this is good stuff. So I was, but she's a little old soul. She's a little old soul. Thoughts? What are you guys feeling? What are you hearing?
Peggy's comment in the chat. She said sometimes when we share our hard times, it shows people how human we are and shows people that we all get through the hard times and move through it. I think sometimes when we are going through the hard things, we feel alone and isolated, or we isolate ourselves too, that a lot of us do that. So whenever we see people being vulnerable and sharing those things, it's like, oh, I'm not alone. And so that's kind of a reminder to me too, like when it's hard, I need to share it because somebody else out there might be feeling that. And I
Mm.
need to put it out there to remind them that, hey, we're all going through the hard and we're all here to help each other and support each other.
I have a tendency to hide my bad feelings because I don't want to bring anybody down. For the most part, sometimes I get in a role, but most of the time I'm hiding it, and then um, I feel bad when I say that, how bad I feel sometimes because I don't want people to feel bad because of me. So, but I think sometimes, like you said, uh, share, when you're being real on how you feel, not all the time. I mean, but when you really bring it out, it actually makes you feel like, hey, he or she is human, and wow, hey, they're not always just up, 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 and they're human, and it makes you feel like, wow, they're real. Or I don't know how to explain it. That's kind of how it like, wow, they really do have feelings and you really are having a bad day. So, hey, and sometimes it also makes you feel like, you know what? Sometimes I can have a bad day too and may help somebody in that too.
Yeah. No, for sure, right? And Kate, thanks so much for sharing that. And gosh, there's so much in that, right? Like everyone, what's interesting is, I mean, I've heard a lot of stories, right? I've been able to walk alongside a lot of people for a few years in this space, and I've seen people at the highest highs and the lowest lows. I think the reality is that we're all struggling with a certain something at all times. The challenge is like, do you like, gosh, um, I forget if it was a Kobe, it was a video with Kobe Bryant, something. Um, he was talking about failure, uh, losing a game or losing a championship or something, and he says, he's like, it wasn't a failure. He's like, because I never quit. He's like, I kept going. Like it was a moment. It was a lesson. The only time you ever really fail is if you lock it in with quitting, right? And the difference is that what do you do when it gets hard? How do you show up when it's hard? And how do you make sure that a bad moment doesn't turn into a bad day, that doesn't turn into a bad weekend, that doesn't turn into a bad month, that doesn't turn into your identity, right? Like some people let an event become their identity. And that's hard. I mean, and here's the thing: some people go through some really tough stuff, and there's some big challenges that people deal with. And I'm not here to judge, right? I can only do what I can do and share what I can share. And I've always been just pushed and challenged to say, okay, all right, so yes, this is hard. Yes, there's some challenges here. Okay, cool. What are your options? What can you do? What do I own? And for me, the moment I took complete ownership, whether it was my responsibility to or not, that's when I found the solutions. Um, I heard somebody say the other day that you got to assess your situation, and even though it may not be your fault, it is your problem. So what you're going through may not be your fault, but it is your problem. And the sooner that you can, like, the sooner for me, the sooner I can take on as much of it as my and own it and just say to myself, okay, I've not done this. I've chosen not to show up in this way. I've taken the easy way out. I could have gone harder. I could have done this. I could have made a better choice here. Um, and as soon as I take all that on, all of a sudden my answers start to show up. the way out starts to show up. And then once you get through that part, right? Like, so anyways, I don't know exactly what I'm saying other than like strength through vulnerability is important. And then also ownership and action on the other side of it is also vitally important. And then so, and in the messy middle, I think that's where we can help the most people through exactly what we're talking about. Right? It's like, okay, ownership paired with action is everything. And then sometimes that spark, that catalyst is somebody else's testimony, somebody else's journey. Their story then becomes your survival guide, right? Which is 100% the reason why I wrote Entrepreneur's Regret is I wanted to make sure that I documented my journey, hoping that it could be somebody else's survival guide as well. Other thoughts? I don't want to monopolize the conversation here.
I think being vulnerable is a gift to others, just because, like you said, hearing, testimonies or struggles or whatever the case is, it shows that we're not prim and polished and perfect, that, we are human. We have things, that we go through. And whether it be struggles or challenges or bad days, yeah, we're all going to have those. And I think if you change your mindset of how you look at those things, then it shows your growth. Because if you don't have struggles, if you don't have challenges, if you don't have bad days, you aren't given the opportunity to learn how to turn those things into success. Because if you're not growing, then you're stagnant, and then stagnant, that gets you nowhere. And so if you show the struggles and show how you overcame those or use the tools to be better, it shows your success, and it's a testimony for everybody else.
Right on.
Something you said too was, I wrote it down, but it was, I wrote down little notes, but yes, you're going to be in these hard places and be vulnerable, but also don't get stuck. We can, sometimes that's overwhelming when you're in that hard space to even see, like, where do I even go from here? Like, what step forward do I need to take? And sometimes that means sharing with someone, getting a coach, getting an accountability partner, someone, and knowing that it's okay to open up about that and say, hey, I'm in this crap spot and it sucks and I don't know what to do, and I just help. To ask for help, that has never been my strong suit ever, but gosh, it makes such a difference when you have people that you can ask for help to help pull you out of that spot when you can't see, like, you're too far in it that you can't even see. You don't want to be stuck, but you can't see the way out.
I know why I don't like to ask for help. And it's because I don't want to hear from somebody else the thing that I already know is true
Mm.
that I don't want to do. And that if I ask for help and somebody says the thing I know I should be doing, then I got to do it. And I know what I got to do. I just am not doing it. And I want to pretend I don't know what it is. But as soon as I ask somebody, they're going to go, well, why aren't you doing X? And I'm like, shut up. Because I don't want to. I don't feel like I have to, but I do. But I do. And I think you guys are also like me. Sometimes we don't want to ask for help, or we hide, we hold it in because we know people are going to validate the bullshit that we're not doing, that we know we should. All of you have the answer, and we're hiding.
And then
I'm only talking, I'm just sharing out loud. I know what I need to do. I don't want to do it. And that's why I have to do it.
but then whenever you put it out there and it is the things that you know you're supposed to be doing and you're not, now you've put it out there that you're aware, right? So it's like accountability, and you don't want to not show up. So it's like, oh dang, I just asked for help and they said the things that I know that I'm already supposed to be doing, but now they know that I know that I'm supposed to be doing this, I'm not doing it. It's just a cycle.
Mhm. Yep. Which is why like I know that that's a thing for me, right? So again, I think we talked about it on another call. One of my default settings is laziness, procrastination. My default setting is to like ostrich, like put my head in the sand and ignore it, right? And I know that that's my default setting. And so how do I hack against that? By telling other people my goals, by setting it up accountability outside of myself, because I know that if I just leave it to me, I'll let myself off the hook privately and act like it's no big deal because I'm not letting anyone else down but me. So I have to have different layers and levels of accountability that I'm afraid that somebody else is going to call me out. So I like the reality is I'll do more for other people to not have to call me out than what I would do for myself privately. And that's the thing. And so the question that I would ask you is that if you're experiencing certain challenges in your area, or you're not experiencing the kind of growth that you're looking for, you're probably doing it on your own. You're avoiding the accountability. And the reason why is because you don't want somebody to tell you what you know you should be doing. And then that's the vicious cycle again and again. So you'll see me post goals. You'll see me put stuff out there. And it's absolutely uncomfortable and terrifying. I don't want to do it. I don't want to tell people, right? Like I just hurt my arm again, my other arm. And I was starting to feel good about like going and doing this competition in November. And I went out and I did the exact same injury with my opposite arm. I'm like, oh man, now what? So I don't know. I think we're still going after November, November 15th. I'll just be there with like T-Rex arms. Everything else will be fine. I'll just be like this. What's up, Kate? I saw you put your camera on.
Good
No,
morning. Good morning.
good morning.
At
Good
job,
morning.
at job number one.
Right on. I wasn't sure if you wanted to share or not. Cool. It's good to see you, man.
No, I think exactly what you said is exactly what it is. I want to blame it on external things. I want to blame it on nobody can get approved right now. Everyone's credit sucks right now. Because I had built my business to a point where I could autopilot. I was getting so many referrals, I didn't have to do the heavy lifting anymore. And right now, I think what I'm telling myself is, well, the old way's not going to work. There's new things that I need to learn, and I just feel like there's so much I need to learn that I can't take that first step because it's so overwhelming. And so I just got to get connected again, and that's why I'm here, trying to get connected again.
Right on. Final thoughts. Last 3 minutes.
I just want to say thank you for being real today. And not that you're not always real, but I mean being more vulnerable. Can't say it, but anyhow, just thank you for just being vulnerable. Yeah.
Oh, right on. So yeah, so the question then is, okay, then what's changed for you? And I'll go back to one of my favorite quotes from my buddy Alex, and he says, "There is no learning without changed behavior." So how is what you heard today going to help change your behavior? Otherwise, you just were here for some entertainment. So education without implementation is simply edutainment. There is no learning without changed behavior. Remember that, right? So how is what you heard going to affect how you operate moving forward? That's when you know you've actually learned something. Otherwise, you've just heard information. There's so many people out there with information. They're educated, but they haven't actually learned anything because they haven't done anything different. There's a lot of smart people making no money. They know all about marketing. They know all about ClickFunnels. They know all about real estate. They know all about laws. They know all about the taxes. They know all about these things, and they don't do anything. I know some of the smartest broke ass people. They're so smart. They get in their own way. And then I know the dumbest people that are making a ton of money because they take action, right? They do the things that you don't need to know all the things about. They just do it and they figure it out along the way. They mess up, but they're doing it. They're out there. They're doing it. So anyway, I leave you with that. I leave you with that. Now, if you are smart and action oriented, triple threat. All right, y'all. It's 9:30. Have an amazing week. Welcome to the conversation. Take care.